Okay, now we're going to move on to the second version of the breadcrumbs app. Start by creating a copy of this project. So save project as, and I'm going to name that breadcrumbs part 2. And first thing we're going to do is add another button to our screen. And this is going to be the button for starting and stopping creating a trail of breadcrumbs. So when you want to start a new trail, you'll press the Start a Trail button. When you're done leaving breadcrumbs, you'll press the button again to stop, and the app will save your trail of breadcrumbs. So for this first part, we're going to go with just the start behavior. So we're going to rename our button to start, button start. Change the width to fill the parent. And change its text to start a trail. And that's the only difference in the user interface. On the blocks side, let's get this all up here. We need a new event handler for when somebody clicks on button start. And the first thing we want to do is hide any markers that might be on the map from an old trail. And we're going to put that in a separate procedure. And the way this is going to work, and let me illustrate that here. The way this is going to work is we're going to have our list of breadcrumbs, and we're going to go through each item one at a time and set the marker to invisible. So this way, any breadcrumbs that we've already got in the map, we're going to make them invisible, and then we can start throwing new breadcrumbs on without the user seeing the old breadcrumbs. We'll start with, for each item in our list, so we'll rename the procedure hide markers, and for each breadcrumb in our list of breadcrumbs, we're going to set the marker to not be visible. And this is something that is a little different than anything we've done in class up to this point. So there are these blocks that we've never talked about before, these any component blocks. And what these blocks do is say, if you give me any, in this case, marker, so if you give me any kind of marker, I will let you set some of its properties or call some of its methods. So we're going to set the visible value, and we want to make that false so that it's not visible. And what we're using is breadcrumb, right? So this is a list of markers. We're grabbing one of them here, and we're using that to say set its visible value to false. This will make all the markers that we've got on the map invisible. So when the user presses the start button, we hide the markers. We're going to reset our list of breadcrumbs to an empty list because we have a new trail. So now we have an empty list for storing our new breadcrumbs in. And then we're going to enable the drop breadcrumbs button. And the reason for this is that we only want the user to put breadcrumbs in new places. So we only want them to be able to drop breadcrumbs when they've moved from wherever they are and from wherever the last breadcrumb they dropped was. And the way to do that is we're going to turn breadcrumb on and off, this button on and off, depending on whether they've moved or not. So at the start of the program, we're going to set drop breadcrumb to not be enabled. So the only way they can start dropping breadcrumbs is if they're already at, they've already started a trail. And every time they drop a breadcrumb, we want to turn off the drop breadcrumb button so that they have to move before they can drop another breadcrumb. And the way we can tell if somebody has moved is through the location sensor. So when they've moved enough to fire this location changed, then we can turn the drop breadcrumb sensor back to true.